Um, well, honestly, there's a lot of elements of the hip hop culture and hip hop music itself that will kind of always be there. The music, the artistry, all that kind of stuff, and you'll always see new artists come out. I think the major difference is how those artists are marketed to us, because there's always been sort of an underground hip hop movement versus the established mainstream hip hop, which tends to be more pop. Because of hip hop's pop culture phenomenon and because of the impact it's made, we're basically, all influenced now all over the globe. Black, white, Hispanic, urban, suburban, rural, everywhere you go. And so I think if you look at the cultural context of it, you understand that hip hop is established. Hip hop's not going anywhere. And hip hop really is the language of the people. And so we are immersed in this culture, and we're missionaries to this culture. And that's really the perspective and the angle that we have to take, is that we're in the world and we're not of the world. So while we're here and while we live among people, we can't leave the world. We'll always encounter culture. But we will always, as true believers, be, remnants. We'll be a counterculture to that. And so we offer an alternative. We offer the only alternative, really, and that's hope and life and freedom in the gospel. And so really, I think if we look at it that way, in that kind of context, we're still artists. We still are a part of our culture. And so we're going to look, sound, in a lot of ways the same. But I think our lifestyles are going to be different. Our attitudes are going to be different. The way we treat people is going to be different. And I think that's really the main thrust, is this is where we start. So in wanting to reach people influenced by hip hop, if you can start there, music's just natural. People love music. People are going to listen to music. People are going to enjoy music. And, 9 times out of 10, put a song on, people don't really know that's Christian, that's secular, except the fact that, you got tons of people and tons of music on the radio that is, really the main thing is that it's very it's really oversaturated, sexualized. You're seeing the sexualization of 11 and 12-year-olds with Disney and just all kinds of crazy stuff, that has really become something that, you can't compete with that because we would never compete with that. It goes against our moral standards and those things. So I think while we're still artists and we're making music, there will be definite distinctions, but we'll always be making music. And we'll always be a part of the culture. We'll always hopefully be up on it. And then it goes back to the difference between underground and mainstream. Because of the mass marketing and promotion and all that kind of stuff, mainstream artists, they look at, Nicki Minaj and look at all these other guys. You can sexualize a lot of different artists. You can't sexualize Legacy and KJ52 and, Lecrae and KB and all these guys. We don't do that. But we make great music, and we love people. We love the Lord, and we love this culture. And that's really the thing is we love the people inside the culture, and that's why we do it. So I just think we're missionaries inside of hip hop and urban culture and the world, really, if you think about it.
Well, I want to ask real quick, if we can, what does hip hop have a place in the church? And obviously, if you agree, it does. What's its future? And maybe if someone who's watching, maybe a pastor or a youth pastor or someone, trying to incorporate that, maybe they're in an area where hip hop is the culture. You got any ideas how they can kind of incorporate that without, really, tipping the apple cart too much? You know how that goes. But
right.
Tell us your angle on that and how you feel about hip hop in the church.
Well, I want to go back to my previous statement that basically says that we're missionaries. If you look at how a missionary prepares to go, for instance, to Africa or India or things of that nature, they spend years even studying a culture before they even get to go there. They study the language, they study the customs, and you get to know that culture through and through. And then when you go, you you immerse yourself without allowing, those things that are contrary to God's holiness and God's standards to influence your life and to change you. I heard a great teaching the other day. I was listening to R.C. Sproul, and he was basically talking about the difference between a custom and a principle. So when we look at things, people ask, does hip-hop belong in the church? You really have to ask yourself, are you dealing with a custom, a cultural phenomenon, or are you dealing with a principle? If you believe that music was created by God, and it was, intentioned and meant for it to glorify God, then yes, by all means, it's another form of art. It's another form of music. I would respect somebody that said they don't believe that music belongs in the church. Now, I disagree with you, but I'll respect you. On the flip side, I think that anybody that, can go back in church history and see, I'm sure you've heard this argument before, where the hymns came from. They came from bar tunes. And then look at a lot of the 80s and 90s worship movement. What kind of, genre was that? That was 60s and 70s style music. Andre Crouch and Keith Green, who were gospel and rock artists, faced the same kind of opposition. And we look back now and we don't adore them, but, we respect them and we appreciate the path that they paved. And so I think hip hop is just another generation's expression of art and music, and, it's part of our culture. So if I'm into hip hop and I become a Christian, I'm going to express how I feel about my faith and about Christ through the music that I know. And I think that's when you look at the cultural context of sending a missionary overseas, if you give them suits and ties, guitars and drums, when they have a particular cultural dynamic for music, I think you're imposing your culture on them. So I would say to a pastor, do we really need to impose our particular cultural context on the next generation? And I think the answer is no. I think we encourage them to express their faith through what they know, and learn to differentiate between custom and principle. The principle is we don't shake our booty. We don't sexualize. We don't do that. We don't use vulgar language. We don't demoralize. We're not into materialism. We're not into self-glorification. We're into glorifying God. We're into purity, holiness. We're into loving our brother. We're into friendship, with our enemies. We're into forgiving our enemies. That's what we're into as a believer before we're a musician or an artist. And so if you can live that and express it through your music, then all glory goes to God, and let's do it. Don't stop it. Let's do it. And let it develop. Let it be organic. You don't have to manufacture this hip hop thing in your service. Somebody goes to your church and they're a DJ. Let them DJ and scratch during a fast song. That's great. You should do that. Let them do a short verse during a worship song. Let them freestyle worship. I got some brothers that can freestyle worship, straight up. So that kind of stuff, I think you're going to see in the future, those kind of things coming to the church because they're natural, not because they're manufactured, because that's who we are. And we're just going to love the Lord, and we're going to give him our talents. And I think that's the idea. Yeah.
Seems like it's headed towards more of the standard than the oddball way of going about it. But I'm definitely in agreement with you. Steering back real quick so we can let you go. I know you've been on here with us. So we appreciate it. But your album's coming out next week. I think it's Wednesday, is it? March 15th. Is it Wednesday?
It's going to be Tuesday, March 15th.
All right.
So,
well, you can get it Wednesday, but Tuesday's the best day to get it because that's when it's hot off the shelf. But March 15th, you don't want to miss it. His album, brand new, Green Legs and Spam. Make sure you hit up his website, greenlegsandspam.net. I was just on there. He's got a nice little black and white theme going there with the blog. You don't want to miss that. He's got some great insights there. Tell us when you're going to hit the concert trail and how they can get a hold of you for that as well.
March 13th, I'm going to be at Crossover for Sunday Night Vibe. And then I have some concerts here in Tampa, and then one in New Orleans in April. I'm also working on some shows sort of up north, New York area, and then I'm trying to line up some stuff for the summer. So couple upcoming events during the course of the spring. My summer's pretty wide open, but I'm trying to nail down a couple of events and some things of that nature. But I'm definitely now booking. I'm available. You know, like a lot of artists, I work a full-time job and I have to take time off to go. But I'd gladly do so to come and to impact, the listener. And so, yeah, I'm booking. I'm definitely available. So the spring, there's some openings, and the summer is pretty wide open on into the next year.
And the best way to get a hold of you for that would be through your website.
Absolutely. Yeah, go to greenlegsandspam.net. There's a link for booking. You can book Legacy. It's booklegacy@me.com. Go ahead and email me from that link, or go to the website, and there's tons of ways to contact me. Twitter, Facebook, you name it, email. Love to hear from you. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Legacy, we appreciate your time. It's been a quick, impactful interview. Great insight. We're going to have you back, by the way, if you don't mind. We'll schedule.
Absolutely, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, we'll schedule. We have a little bit more time. Talk about some of the things you got coming up. But don't forget, March 15th, go and grab Green Legs and Spam. Legacy's been real. Keep it real. If you need anything, let us know. And you're watching The Calling. Appreciate you tuning in today.